In front of us we have the Bose Sport open earbuds. This right earbud here has a defective battery, so we'll go ahead and replace that. And while we're at it, we're going to replace this left one as well. Pretty much the only tools you'll need would be a pry tool, a soldering iron, and some adhesive to seal it back up. So yeah, let's jump right into it. We're going to grab the heat gun, put it at 150 degrees Celsius, and airflow of about 70. And the battery is held right here. As you can see, that seam. You don't want the temperature too high, or the plastic that Bose use tends to start having a shine to it. It'll deform.
Once you've got the plastic heated up enough, you can start using a thin metal pry tool and a plastic spudger to lift the housing apart and just separate the two pieces of plastic that encase the battery, and then go back to your heat gun and just repeat that process a few times until you start to see the plastic have more of a gap in it, and then you can pry it open a little bit further and actually get a bigger pry tool in there and kind of just slowly work that adhesive open. You don't want to damage the plastic, so don't go too fast. Otherwise you can take chips out of it or crack it. And so you just want to go nice and slow, and then eventually you'll see this nice gap form in the plastic, and you should be able to just pull it apart with your fingers at this point, and then that exposes the battery. Next up, we put some flux on the two solder points that hold the battery in place, and this just helps the solder melt at a lower temperature so you don't risk damaging the PCB that it's attached to. And as you can see, it made the battery come off really easy. It's just those couple of solder points. And then we used some rubbing alcohol on the end of a Q-tip to clean up the PCB and the old solder area and all that flux. And then you can use the other end of the Q-tip, the clean end, with some rubbing alcohol to clean off all the old adhesive from the frame. This will just make sure that the new adhesive that you put on there sticks better, and it'll give you a more watertight seal. So if you use these while you're working out, that sort of thing, you want to make sure that that adhesive is cleaned off of the old housing. So Eric, the technician, is just test fitting these housings together to make sure that they fit and there's no extra bumps or leftover adhesive that's keeping a gap in the housing that could let water in. And then he did find some adhesive, so he heated it up with the heat gun and then just used a little screwdriver or any other pointy object that you want to use to scrape off that adhesive, and then some more rubbing alcohol on the Q-tip to just clean up the housing for one last time. Put a little flux on those contact points, some solder on the end of his soldering iron, and just solder that battery in place really quick. It should be nice and fast, just like you see here in the video, no more than a couple of seconds soldering that battery in place just to protect the PCB. And then the glue that he's using here is called cold press adhesive. We sell it on our website, and we've tested dozens of glues. This is by far the best one. It just holds a really great seal for a really long time, and it has a lot of strength in the adhesive bond. So we would definitely recommend using the cold press glue on this. And then you basically just put a thin line all the way around the edge of the housing so that there's no gaps or anything that would let moisture in. And then you can just press those two pieces of the housing together right on top of the battery and hold them for maybe 10 to 30 seconds, depending on how the consistency of the glue kind of feels. Then you can clamp it in place or wrap it in a rubber band. After the glue has dried, you can just scrape off any extra glue that may have come out of the seam with a plastic spudger or something that's not going to scratch the plastic. You can also wipe off the glue before it dries, just using some rubbing alcohol. But we're going to repeat the same steps for the second earbud. As you can see, heating up the plastic, prying it open with our thin metal pry tool, and then using the nylon spudger once it gets a little bit more wide, and then just taking the battery out, using some solder flux on those contact points, cleaning off all the old adhesive, and putting the new battery in. Same steps, and just getting a nice seal with that cold press glue. So that's how you replace the battery in your Bose Sport open earbuds. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email or leave a comment below. We're super happy to help. Thanks for watching.
If you guys love what we do, please support us. You guys can click on the links that we have on the end screen. You guys can buy our parts, sales, or service so we can continue to make great videos for you guys for many more years. Thank you.